ask questions and participate. This is not a lecture. This is far from it. And that leads me, so, but at the end of the sections where there's a natural break, I will ask if anybody has questions. That's when we get the uncomfortable silence, either followed by a good question or we'll just keep moving along. So with that said, the mission, our mission at CubeMonk for presenting or hosting these roundtables is to create a place where movers and some friends of movers can share ideas and learn from each other. And so it has been working out that way. Hopefully most of you feel that way. For those of you on your first mover roundtable, first time participating, our motto here is this is not a sales pitch for CubeMonk. Most of you know us or you wouldn't be here. And if anybody has any questions or needs to know anything about CubeMonk, you know how to reach us. Shoot any of us an email. We'd be happy to talk to you offline. In the meantime, we want to make sure the focus is on you guys. So with that said, the topic for today, if you can't tell already, is senior moving. And we're very pleased to be able to introduce Jennifer Pickett, who is the Associate Executive Director for NASMM, or if you're from Philadelphia, it's NASMM, which I think annoys some people. But with Jennifer, if you want to just say hi real quick, introduce yourself. I know you're on camera too, I think.
Yeah, I'm on. Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Pickett. I have been with NASMM since 2006, so have watched it grow from about 22 members to about 1,000 throughout the United States, Canada, the UK, and Australia. My job here is membership services, education. I plan the conference, I do the graphics, a lot of the PR, social media, a lot of hand-holding of new members and creating value and partnerships for our members. So with that being said, I know we've got a few questions here to get started. Sure. About what makes a senior move special. And the reality is that very rarely does somebody wake up after being in their homes for 40 years and say, honey, let's move. I mean, something has happened to precipitate the need to make this kind of a transition. And it, unfortunately, a lot of times it revolves around loss. Maybe loss of a spouse, loss of cognitive or physical abilities, loss of, just basically loss. And when it comes down to moving at that point, a lot of times a senior will draw the line in the sand. It's overwhelming. It's too much. What am I going to do with all of this stuff? Because, I mean, the reality is that when you are moving from, 2,500 square feet to 500 square feet, you're not taking much. So the biggest part of the senior move is helping the older adult part with the possessions without parting with the memories. And so that's what really makes a senior move special. It is something that requires hands-on from a move manager from start to finish, from the moment they walk into the house to do that first consultation, doing the original, the initial space planning so that we can determine, what will fit in the new residence, which sort of clarifies what will fit and outlines the downsizing process. And then overseeing the move. Some of our move managers pack. We strongly discourage that unless they are insured beyond being insured. And then very few of them are actually movers, less than 5%. So they will hire the mover on behalf of the client, oversee that move, and then oversee the unpack, the unload, and all of that. So it is a very much sort of white glove concierge service. It's not something that everyone can afford, unfortunately, but it is, with 1,000 members, you know, we estimate that the move management business is a $30 billion a year industry. Senior moves are just part of that. And with that realization, we are in the process right now of doing some strategic planning with our board to expand NASMM's brand and enhance the value to our members, and to sort of expand our own audience. And we are right now toying with the name, the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. That will be coming probably out in July. We're waiting for final board approval on that this month, so it's still kind of top secret, but we feel pretty confident that that is going to be a direction that NASMM is going to take, just because there are some really interesting pockets: military moves, divorcee moves, college student moves, areas where they can be expanding their businesses and their referral sources as well. So that's kind of in a nutshell what makes a senior move so special. I mean, each one is different. You know, there's always family dynamics that you're dealing with, and to be able to bring in a third-party, objective professional who doesn't have any emotional attachment to what's going on within the home really can help a senior move quicker. And I think too, we also see when, you know, a senior is sitting in front of a move-in coordinator at a senior living community, and they get to the point where they say, you know, well, I'm not ready yet. You know, I'm not ready means I'm overwhelmed. They wouldn't be taking a tour of a senior living community if they weren't seriously considering making this move. But when it gets down to actually signing on the dotted line, it becomes very overwhelming. And so for, you know, a senior living community to be able to provide a resource like a NASMM member to their potential residents, it allows the senior move manager to start working with that resident to break down the barriers of downsizing, and to potentially convert that resident to an actual resident as opposed to a potential resident. So senior move managers are basically project managers. And in order for them to be successful, they have to have a very strong circle of partners. Everything from movers to junk removal companies to auction and estate sale, realtors, handymen, cleaning companies, you name it, anything that's involved with servicing this move. I mean, it could be painters, you know, that will help get the client out of the home and get the house ready for sale. That's where, you know, we come in and work to create value. I mean, there are people that are on this call that we have had relationships with, or we currently have relationships with, and they are valued partners of NASMM. They understand the role of the senior move manager. And while, you know, the client is the person in transition and the person paying the bill, when it comes to project management, senior move manager is basically the client on behalf of the client, if that makes sense. They are really calling the shots and working their magic to make sure that the move goes as smooth as possible. As part of our code of ethics, they are responsible for their referral sources, which means that they have to have a very strong relationship with their partners, because the partners also need to understand the level of sensitivity and the fragility of the clients that we're working with. Our population is what we consider high touch, high harm. And so anyone who's working within a home with our clients and with our members has to be super respectful of that. And, you know, we have relationships with some amazing moving companies, storage companies, junk removal companies. We've also kicked some out that don't align with our ethics and don't understand the importance that the senior move manager plays in the overall move of these older adults. So in terms of what we've been going through since March, we got our annual conference in just under the wire. We were in Houston from March 5th through the 8th and came home and got hit with all of this COVID. Our movers in New York, New Jersey, our move managers in New York, New Jersey, I think they were in the fetal position for the first couple of months. But the lion's share of our members worked through this. They were deemed essential, as most moving companies were, and they really didn't skip a beat. Unfortunately, right now they're doing a lot of clean outs. But the reality is that when an older adult has to move, it doesn't matter if we're in the middle of a pandemic. And we also did see a lot of moves that were coming out of retirement communities where people were pulling their older adults out just to, keep them from having to be quarantined for months on end. So we've developed a special certificate program for our senior move managers based on CDC guidelines that they are now using to train their staff and train their vendors. And so that's been kind of an exciting development. We've had an opportunity over the past 3 months to really connect with our members on a lot of different levels, supporting them through all of this. But from what I hear out in the field now is that they are back to work and are busier than ever, just can't handle the amount of work, which is great. We actually saw this same trend in 2008 during the financial crisis, where our members came out stronger on the other side. And we also find that during these times when people are being displaced or downsized from their jobs, we tend to pick up a lot of new members. People that have decided, you know what, I'm not working for the man anymore, and I want my own, my own career. And this is a career that can be started up for, not a lot of money, and you can be very, very successful. I mean, the demographics are on our side, and they're going to be for a very long time. Very, very first baby boomers turned 70 in 2016. I mean, we have not even begun to scratch the surface of older adults and families that are going to need our services. It's just, it really is going to be incredible. And this demographic also has the money to pay for these services for the most part. So it's a good time to be a senior move manager, and it's a great time to partner with senior move managers. If you're not currently working with senior move managers in your area, I would strongly encourage you to either reach out to me or reach out to the members that are in your area. If you go to our website, which is NASMM, NASMM.org, we have a Find a Senior Move Manager function where you can do a zip code search and see what, who the move managers are in your area. So from that way, you can reach out to them. If you want a more formal introduction, you can become an industry partner of NASMM's, which is great for companies that have more of a national reach. We also have programs for those that market more on a local or regional level. But the benefits are many. It's not necessarily the quality of the move, because as I said early on, they're not moving a lot of stuff, but it's the quantity of moves. And that sort of built-in referral source between you and the move manager. And if you can establish a team that works with that move manager on a more frequent and consistent basis, that's a dream relationship where they know the driver, they know, the team has an understanding of what it means to work with an older adult, where you have maybe done some more training on working with clients with dementia, working with clients with aphasia, things that are essential to understanding older adults as they're moving. So that's kind of my little spiel. You know, if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And you know, if there's other things that you want to discuss about working with older adults, I'm your gal.
Hey, Dave, I believe you're on mute still. And Odette, actually, if you would like to ask the question to the group.
Yeah. So I put a question in the chat box over there, and Jennifer, that was basically to find out what percentage of senior move managers are actually part of asset-based moving companies, and what percentage of them use, you know, third-party moving companies to perform the moving aspect of the service.
I would say that, yeah, 95% of them use outside movers to do the moves for them. You know, it's, as you all know, the world of moving is one full of fraught with insurance and regulations. It's not generally cost effective. I mean, there are some that, like I said, that have added trucks, but it is a very, very small percentage.
Good to know. Thank you for answering that.
Great. Thanks, Odette. I do have a question actually on the on question 1 there for this. What's special about a senior move?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just share with the group a little bit about the kind of the intricacies perhaps of dealing with people that are part of the families that are not actually moving, whereas normally I think a moving company is working with the people moving, and here there's an extra level of communication.
There is an extra level. Yeah, there's one of the great things about a senior move manager is that they can kind of cut through the nonsense with the family. But you know, you may have dealt with these dynamics within your own family where you may have a sibling who is sort of that power of attorney or primary caregiver who's the one that's kind of caught in all of this, and that the kids are, the other kids are spread out throughout the country. It's real easy to say, oh, well, we'll just come in and, we'll pick a weekend and we'll come in and get this all done and not spend the money to do it. And you just cannot downsize, somebody who's been in their house for 40 years in 48 hours. They don't understand the complexities of the move, for sure. You cannot just come into, your mother or father's house and just start throwing things in the dumpster. That will cause an older adult so much stress. There is an actual psychological diagnosis called relocation stress syndrome that happens to older adults. And if the older adult is, has the onset of, dementia or memory loss, has the, onset of a chronic illness, the stress that is caused by this type of move not handled correctly can really send an older adult into a downward spiral. So as I said earlier, the senior move manager has a whole bag of tricks. What do we do with the Civil War memorabilia? What are we going to do with mom's wedding dress? What are we going to do with this doll collection or what have you? They're prepared to find resources for all of those items. And because we have a network of 1,000 member companies, if they don't know what to do with something, they're going to be able to reach out to our members through our association and find solutions. It's one of the things that I think sometimes gets overlooked, even within our own membership, is that for the adult children, this is a new normal for them as well. So there's a lot of loss going on for them, especially if it's their childhood home. And, because now also that we're living in more of an IKEA Target world, people who are, frankly, younger than me, but like my kids, who are in their 20s and, kids who are in their 30s, they don't want our stuff. Our stuff, they don't have emotional attachments to their, bookcase because they didn't buy it from, Ethan Allen and, spend, weeks and weeks of salary on it. They're like, I bought it at Target. It doesn't work for me anymore. It's going out by the trash. You go to antique stores and they're just full of, you know, oak break fronts and big tables and chairs and things like that that people just don't want anymore. So the senior move manager becomes really, really important in terms of, you know, helping to unload this stuff. You know, we work very closely with Habitat for Humanity Restores as an association. So that, you know, I think, you know, they're willing to get rid of that dining room table if they know that it's going to a good family. People just don't want to put their, you know, they don't want to toss their things in the trash. And that's where, you know, the families have to be very, very sensitive. A senior move manager who, you know, is going through and, you know, getting rid of the china and, you know, saying to, you know, with the client saying to her adult daughter, I want you to have this china. And the senior move manager will pull that daughter aside and say, take the box of china, put it in your basement, and get rid of it in 6 months. You know, let's not fight about it. Let's not say that you don't need this, mom. I don't want this, mom. The other thing the senior move manager is really good is almost becoming a historian. You know, if there is a collection, you know, for example, like a teapot collection, you know, sitting down and having one of the kids or grandkids sit down with their mother or grandmother and go through all of these different teapots, you know, tell the story of where they got it, who they were with, why is it special, and then take a picture of it, you know, so that she can capture those memories. Where there's a very, because our stuff defines us, that if you start losing your stuff, do you lose those memories? And as I said earlier, one of the hallmarks of senior move management, really the art of it, is helping older adults part with possessions without parting with memories. And the more that you can do that and support the older adult through this transition, you know, when they walk into their new apartment, to have it, you know, all put back together, you know, if they have wanted to sort of recreate the space that they lived in for 40 years, the senior move manager will do that. The senior move manager will take pictures of from every angle. You know, if the coffee table has always been 18 inches from the couch, that coffee table is going to be 18 inches from the couch. And, you know, the artwork's going to be hung the way that it was. Trying to recreate these spaces helps with the transition and helps reduce the stress for these older adults, so that when they come in, it's all done. I mean, boxes are broken down, taken out, everything is put back together, toilet paper's on the roll, electronics are connected, you know, you name it. So.
Hey, Jennifer?
Yeah.
This is Ray.
Right.
Yeah, great topic, David. Wonderful session. I work with the International Association of Movers that represents over 2,000 of the leading movers and forwarders around the world. Mm-hmm. And they would be so grateful to know more about your association and your members. Would you be willing to do an interview for an article in their Portal magazine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. And also, the IAM has a product called the IAM Mobility Exchange, which is attempting to become the universal service provider directory for the moving and mobility services industry. And we'd like to talk to you about featuring your members in that directory as well.
Okay.
So I'll get in touch with you and maybe we can open up a dialogue on that.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That's great, Ray. And really, just to, like, a sidebar from the roundtable, that's exactly what these tables are designed to do, which is to, you know, create an environment where peers can help peers. And in this industry, we are all peers. And with the changes that have occurred and are certainly occurring right now, it's critical that those of us who work well together get that opportunity. And so that, thank you, Ray, and thank you, Jennifer, for that example of what this is trying to be. One thing that I wanted to touch on, Jennifer, you and I were talking about, which is incredibly relevant, is there's a reason that they call this industry, our industry, moving and storage. And I believe there's been somewhat of a shift in our industry directly with the subset senior moving in the need for a storage solution, which may not have been there before and may be there now. Can you expand on that for our group?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, in the spirit of true senior move management, storage is generally not the preferred option. However, there are really some very unique storage solutions that are out there, which work very well for seasonal items and things like that, where they cannot actually, they don't have enough room in their 500 square foot apartment for their golf clubs or their holiday decorations or things like that. But what we're seeing now with COVID is that so many of these thrift stores, consignment shops, donation centers are closed, and they're not opening to take this stuff anytime soon. I mean, you can't use a reusable bag at the grocery right now. So, especially when it comes to cleanouts and things like this, which sadly is, there's a lot of that going on right now. Storage is an essential part of this, and it will continue to be, I would say, for some time to come. And it's also, it's another thing senior managers do. They help clean out storage units. So, that's a whole nother side business for them. But yeah, we really are seeing a much greater need for storage than we've seen in the past.
Right, and even for our friends in the moving industry that have been working with NASMM partners or just on their own handling senior moves, since that is such a new thing, I thought that was really relevant to bring to the group, because if they're set in their ways, so and so again, gaining some knowledge and an opportunity to both help the families and make some money, because they're moving and storage businesses are businesses. I think that's a great, definitely a great topic to bring up. So with that, I'd love to open the floor. We've already had some questions. Anybody, if you have a question, throw it out there. If you have a great example of how you're successfully working in the senior move segment of our industry, please jump in and take the floor and share, please.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Ray again. Can you tell us about the A+ accreditation? Is that a company accreditation or a personal accreditation?
Company accreditation for senior move managers based on best practices in senior move management operations and client services. It's a fairly rigorous program where they have all sorts of policies and procedures that need to be developed. It's designed for established senior move management companies that have been in business for 5 years or more, or have conducted at least 250 senior moves. So right now we have, I just did this number today because I've got a board meeting, I think 68 companies that are accredited, and we have another 60 in process. We also have a certification, our senior move management certified certification, and we have, oh my gosh, hold on one second.
Is that one a personal accreditation?
Yeah, that's a personal one. Yeah, that's personal. That requires advanced training above and beyond senior move management training. And we have over 200 that have earned their certification and 130 in process. This is largely because when we came back from our conference and realized that the world was not going to be as we knew it, and we knew that our members were going to have a lot of downtime, we discounted a lot of our training, either offered a lot of free training or deeply discounted training to allow these companies to use the downtime to train staff and to work on their own designations. So it's pretty good. We've got within the 1,000 companies now that we've got 300 or so people that are earning the certification. We're very excited about that.
Would a moving company be able to have their staff apply for that certification?
No, not at this time, because it's part of the certification is that you actually have to do a full service senior move. So if you don't do full service senior moves, we do have some moving companies that have expanded their services to offer full service senior moves. It does require having dedicated staff, and it's a very different structure from what a typical move is, where you come in and you pack 1 day or 2 days, you move, and you drop the boxes off. Sometimes you're working with these clients for months before they're ready to move. Like I said, we do have some that have done this. And we've had some that have done it and have failed miserably at it. So it just depends on, where you're located. And, we obviously, think that the better relationship is between a mover and a move manager. But there are certainly pockets of this country where we can use a lot more senior move managers. Our folks are so busy, like I said, they can hardly keep up with the work.
Hey, Jennifer, quick question for you. What's the process on getting certified and trained and so forth?
Who asked that question? I'm sorry.
I did, Peter. I'm part of Star International Movers. We're actually a part of IM as well, and we use Mobility Exchange on a regular basis. And it's so interesting that you said, Ray knows it very well. I can say that for sure.
Excellent.
Part
Thank
of the
you, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, we do
industry for a long time. And it's something, we work with a lot of agents across the globe, and this is something that would absolutely be beneficial for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely think
the ability to have the dedicated staff, and I think that's the key. It's like with the move. The driver makes or breaks the move, right? Within a senior move manager, you've got to have that senior move manager on staff who does your consultations, your floor planning, works with the client with a consistent staff. But we do offer complete senior move management training in terms of, soup to nuts, getting started, understanding senior move management from an operations standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, and understanding senior move management as it relates to the continuum of aging services. You really, when you're working with senior living communities and other aging services professionals, you really need to know how to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so that's all part of our training. And then from there, once you've, done, full service senior moves, you can apply for certification and down the road accreditation. So in areas where, we find this to be, if you're really willing to do it the right way, it could be a really great revenue stream and service, and in addition to service in your menu. And if that's what you're interested in, you can reach out to me.
But I think you're right, Jennifer. It's a specialist area, and maybe it's more appropriate for reciprocal referral relationships. I think you're convincing us that this is a very specialist area. Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with him. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said that when you show up and they look at you, they have no idea why you're there, even though the client spoke to you, a day ago. And it happens all the time. And just as I'm sure that it happens, on your more traditional moves. I mean, the senior move manager who can't find her chemotherapy drugs and suddenly is accusing you of taking them. You really have to. There's a lot more of a inventory that goes into these moves. So, it's more than, every box is obviously coded, but most of these boxes are also completely inventoried in terms of what's in every box, where it came from, even as much like when they're packing, if they're packing like a dresser, they'll fold clothes and then they'll put a piece of paper over that says, lower bottom drawer. So it's very, very, the devil's in the details,
No, I'm with you. We actually had a client that had about 17 bookcases full of DVDs, and they were all in alphabetical order. And we had a ton of books boxes, labeled the right way with what bookshelf and which shelf and so forth like that. And it's so funny. At the end, she was very happy, and and to be honest, regardless if you're a senior or not, you deserve a 5-star move. And whether that means you're more sensitive about how the process is, then so be it. And that's something that NASMM can absolutely provide to these kind of clients, and we'd love to be part of it.
Great.
Jennifer, I have a question for you. So as we're talking about partnering with senior move managers, What are senior move managers looking for? Let's say that sets them aside from the normal consumer when they're looking for partnering with the moving company. What are the characteristics that they're looking for, the type of service that they're looking for?
Well, I think they're looking for, white glove. They're looking for a professional. They're looking for a partner who understands their policies and procedures and is willing to work within those parameters. Because they are working with such a vulnerable population, it is important. Let's say, that you live in Chicago and you have, it's November and you've got a client with dementia, you can't prop a door. You know what I mean? You could have an elopement issue.
Wow.
It's little things like that. There's obviously, an honesty component, which, obviously but we know that there are some shady movers out there. So, they want high quality movers with staff that is committed and loyal. If you have a team that has worked with you for years, they have ownership in your company and in your reputation. Not these, just fly by night. Oh, I worked for them for a month and then I went on to someplace else. They really like to have an established team that they can count on to work their moves. So that I think is really important. Sorry, it's just.
No, that's good. Because really what we're thinking about, Jennifer, is how do we market ourselves to the senior move managers, and so asking those questions really helps.
Yeah, it's really that you share their vision, you understand their role in the move, and that the team, that the moving team understands the role of the move manager. But that relationship is, makes or breaks a move.
But that was good advice. Like, we can pitch in part of the sale, hey, we're going to have a group of 5-10 movers that will always be assigned to your services. That way you get to know them. So you're saying that familiarity is really important.
Yeah, and then even, making them, like we have within NASMM for our members, we have an ethics and accountability course. And just, that's available to all of our members and to their staffs. And that's, doing that kind of training, providing them with a little extra, understanding, like elders speak. So, there's something about, like, when you've probably seen it, like you go to a restaurant, I'm 54 and somebody says, well, how can I help you, miss? And I'm like, okay, come on, or how are you young ladies doing? And it's like, you know what? Don't call me girl, don't call me. And it's the same thing with older adults. You want to be careful about how you speak around them. You want to use words like community, not facility. You got to start doing the lingo, because nobody wants to live in a facility or an institution. You want to live in a home. So you've got to sort of learn the lingo, if you will. And we actually, I'll get email addresses from David after this, but we actually have like a little white paper on working with movers that we provide to our members. This is the importance of it. We require our members, our senior move management members, to take 4 courses before they can become what we would consider a professional member. They're provisional until then. But they have to take the course in safety. So safety regarding senior move management, ethics and accountability, understanding contracts and liability, and understanding the moving industry. That's a big one. They, new members that are coming in here don't know an interstate move from a local move to getting them to understand, what pack by owner means and what valuation is and all of those types of things, so that they can be advocates for their clients. And I do think too that when you have a really good relationship with a mover, and if you have a move manager who really is insisting on doing the packing, you can develop a relationship with them where it basically says, look, we're going to inventory all these boxes. It's all PBO, but we know that if it comes out, mangled, you know, it's the mover's problem.
Right.
You know, it's come out and it's broken, but the box is fine, you know, it's your problem. And maybe, you know, and they come to some sort of an agreement or understanding in terms of you know, reimbursing this client. But, you know, in my heart of hearts, I hate it when I hear that they pack. I hate it. I had a woman who is one of the founding members of this organization, and she and I have gone round and round on this issue for years. And she called me a couple of years ago and she said, you know, we had an accident. She said, we had a painting that we'd taken down and somebody tripped over something, and this, whatever she tripped over went and flew through the painting, and, you know, it was a $10,000 painting. And she said, so see, things happen, you know, even when you're not, you know, even when it's not packed. And I said, well, if you hadn't taken it off the wall and you let the movers take it off the wall and crate it, it wouldn't have gotten, you know, touched.
Yep.
So, you know, I have some move managers that will say they wouldn't make any money if they didn't pack, and I have a lot of move managers that are like, hell no, I'm not doing this.
So Jennifer, that leads to the next question. So, you know, pricing in the industry is all over the place. Like on the corporate relocation side, you have sophisticated clients that are willing to pay a lot. On the COD side, you have some customers that live in city apartments and want to pay as little as possible and want to do a lot themselves. When we're dealing with this client, if we're putting a lot of energy and time into really providing high quality services, white glove service, like you said, is there going to be a lot of pushback from move managers trying to reduce costs and basically, you know, is the pricing tight, or do we have the ability to, you know, invest in the resources that are required to provide this white quality service?
I think you do have those. They don't, you know, I mean, you get what you pay for, I guess is the bottom line here, you know, and you can't get blood out of a turnip. So, you know, an average senior move is $40 to $80 an hour. Okay. Now that does not take into consideration our friends in Manhattan and Boston and San Francisco, you know, but the average move time, not including your time, the mover's time, is between 17 and 25 hours. So you can see that for an average, you know, an average move is somewhere between $2,500 and $4,000 to the move manager, right? Then there's your fee.
On top of that, or as part of that?
No, on top of that.
Okay.
On top of that. And as I said earlier, I mean, this is not something that everybody can afford. But we are also moving into the very first generation that has the mindset that why would I do it myself if I can pay somebody else to do it? So we're seeing
real quick. Sorry, is this with the payment? Is we paying it separately?
Yeah.
Or is it all together? Okay, so it is separate.
If you run the payment through them, then they become a broker, and we're not messing with that. So they're paying, even though on site you really are treating the move manager as the client, because he or she is the advocate for the actual client and is overseeing the entire move. When it comes down to it, they're writing the check for the move part directly to you.
Right. And if I could add something very quickly from my experience, Jennifer, is that the part of that advocacy that the NASMM, you know, the senior move manager provides is to say, hey, you know, Oded's moving company is a little bit more expensive. They should be 10 times as much. You need to hire them.
Yeah,
because they want the right service.
And that's, you know, well, the client can always say, well, I want to use somebody cheaper. The move manager is going to say, you want to use this company because we have an ongoing relationship with them.
Right.
I work
Exactly.
with them every week. You know, I have confidence in them. We understand their staff knows us. They know our policies and procedures. Your move will go smoother because of the relationship that we have with this company.
Perfect.
Fair enough. Now, for instance, for power of attorney or something on the lines of, you know, someone has a mental issue or how does that work?
Well, the move manager works with the client with the power of attorney. I mean,
okay, so they would be our client, not so much the senior, him or herself.
Well, I mean, sure, there's that too, but it depends. I mean, if, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are 72 and have made the decision to move from Buffalo, New York to Hickory, North Carolina, you know, this is a decision that they've made together. They're calling us, they're arranging for the move manager. But, you know, you also get those, you know, you get these clients who, you know, I mean, I get these calls all the time, you know, we've got to move my mom closer. You know, she doesn't want to move. She's, you know, I'm here, she's there. She's got the onset of dementia, you know, all of that kind of stuff, where the move manager comes in and does that. But that's why the move manager becomes your client, because they're dealing with the actual person in transition to allow you to do your job without having to worry about the client. You know what I'm saying?
I'm following you. Yep.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, when there's power of attorney and things like that, and that happens fairly consistently, or there's an adult child who really maybe doesn't have power of attorney, but is, you know, really taken over and but at the end of the day, the person who is in transition is my member's client. So it doesn't really matter who's paying the bill. It's making sure that that transition is being handled in a customized, you know, personalized manner to keep the stress to a minimum.
Good. Would anybody else like to take advantage of the opportunity we have to ask Jennifer questions as we start to look at wrapping up? We're approaching an hour. Don't be bashful.
I don't have any more questions. I just want to thank you, Jennifer. I think the information that you provided is really helpful. I think, you know, part of what David is doing is us as the moving and storage industry. There are many, many different verticals, lines of business, and some of us do a lot of them, some of us don't, and we're just learning about different ways and different avenues of business that we can pursue. And I think what I really liked about your presentation is you were very direct on how we can, you know, approach the move managers to try to grow our business with them. And I went on your site and I saw there's, you know, in the Boston area, there were like 37, you know, move managers. That's a large amount of people. Yeah, so there's a real opportunity there.
And there's a lot of business in Boston, a lot of business. So
good to know. So thank you.
I'd like to add my thanks too. I mean, it's a very relevant subject and one of great interest to the moving community. So really look forward to engaging with you. I don't know if there's a way we can do it, but to get all your members featured in our directory so that movers can find senior move managers to partner with in all these areas, I think that would really be wonderful.
Sounds good. Love the opportunity. Love the collaborations. It's been great.
Great.
Okay. And Ray, anything I can do to help, you know, with the communication piece of that, you know how to reach me.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Thanks,
Sure
everybody.
thing.
Jennifer, great job. Appreciate it. And definitely look forward and looking further into NASMM and how we can integrate ourselves into it.
Well, I really appreciate the invitation. Thanks for having me.
Right. And Jennifer from CubeMonk, you know, you're really an authority, and we're glad to be able to connect, you know, our moving community with what you do, and what you do is really God's work, and we appreciate it. If anybody has
a lot of pressure.
What's that?
I said that's a lot of pressure. God's work. Good work.
Yeah, well, it is. So, and there is a lot of pressure in what you do. So anything that our friends in the moving business can do to help support that effort, you know, I'm sure that if you get a mover who's helping one of your members and their clients, and they don't do the right thing, it can really exacerbate a bad, you know, take something that's already pretty tough and make it a hell of a lot worse. So
yeah, for sure.
We want to be the good partners and grow our businesses while helping people, older Americans, successfully move. So with that, I'll reiterate my thanks to everyone for joining us. My email address, david@cubemonk.com. If you have ideas, hopefully they can be as awesome as the idea that came to us for having Jennifer and NASMM on board. Please feel free to reach out. In the meantime, if anybody needs us, you know how to reach us. And let's make it a great week. Thanks, folks. Keep your eyes open for emails about our next roundtable.
Thanks a
We'll
lot.
do. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for
everybody.
your time, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.